Yes, we found it. All right, we're gonna read it. Wonderful, wonderful times have returned. The glorious, glorious President Donald Trump is gonna bring peace and security to his empire. My God, this is such a mess that I don't even know. Like, the United States have like just completely abandoned Ukraine. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, because there's a bit to talk about here. The good times are back. They never went away. So, just completed my 2-hour call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Wonderful. I believe it went very well, as always. He always believes everything goes very well when he does it, but then there's a reality check and it all turns out completely different. Russia and Ukraine will immediately... Okay, this is an important part, okay? Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations towards a ceasefire, and more importantly, an end to the war. So, just a quick reminder, okay? This conversation, this call with Vladimir Putin happened after the Istanbul talks, okay? The Istanbul talks that have been pushed by Trump, proposed by Putin, none of them went to those talks, but still, there was a meeting between Ukraine and Russia in Istanbul, the continuation of the negotiation from 2022. Putin even sent the very same team that did the negotiation back then. The negotiation lasted, I think, like less than 2 hours. They were filled with Russian non-starter demands. But it doesn't change the facts that the negotiation has actually already started. So when Trump actually, because Trump had this whole 2-hour call, and then he had a call with European leaders, including Zelensky, about the call with President Vladimir Putin. And he said, listen, guys, Russia is ready to immediately start negotiations towards a ceasefire. And the reactions from the European leaders was apparently stunned silence. And Zelensky actually had to remind Donald Trump that you do know that the negotiations have already started, right? You know that's already ongoing. Like, you haven't achieved anything. Like, okay, he didn't say it like that, but what do you mean Russia is ready to start negotiations towards a ceasefire? Like, the negotiations, first of all, have already started, okay, in Istanbul. And second of all, Russia is definitely not ready to for a ceasefire, because in Istanbul it came out with a bunch of non-starter ridiculous demands, like giving the 4 regions, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, Zaporizhia, that's like those regions. So already ridiculous that Trump sees it as some sort of an accomplishment, that the negotiations are about to start again. But let's continue. The conditions for that will be negotiated between the two parties, as it can only be because they know details of a negotiation that nobody else would be aware of. So again, the negotiations have already started, and of course the Russian side felt the need to threaten the Ukrainian side during it by claims such as, we are prepared to fight forever, maybe some of the people here will lose loved ones, or things like, what else? Oh yeah, if you want to continue this war, then we will just have to take Kharkiv and Sumy regions as well from Ukraine, because we are prepared to fight for forever. The tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent. Apparently there were more things that Trump said about that talk with Putin that just left the European leaders basically speechless from shock. Negative shock, mind you, not positive shock. And like, I don't even know what he means when he says that the tone and spirit of the conversations were excellent. Like, Trump is such an easy person to play. Like, it is just, or he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care and wants to, as fast as possible, to normalize relations with Russia. Okay, if it wasn't, I would say so now rather than later. Also, it's keep in mind that in Trump's world, in Trump's head, when you lose, you say you win. Never admit to anything, never admit defeat. Always say that you're winning, even when you're losing. So of course he's gonna say that the tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent, because Trump always has to be a winner, no matter how bad the negotiations go, no matter how bad the conversation goes, he has to be a winner, despite reality. Just a thing that's worth mentioning here. Russia wants to do large-scale trade with the United States when this catastrophic bloodbath is over, and I agree. See, already his mind is going towards normalizations of relations with Russia, because the best way to stop Russia from its imperialistic ambitions is to bolster its economy through trade, large-scale trade, mind you. There's a tremendous opportunity for Russia to create massive amounts of jobs and wealth. Its potential is unlimited. Like, the naivete of this whole post just is like a hit to the face, or the amount of just, I don't give up flying fuck, to be quite honest with you. Likewise, Ukraine can be a great beneficiary on trade. In the process of rebuilding its country, negotiations between Russia and Ukraine will begin immediately. They are already ongoing. Again, Zelensky had to remind Trump during his briefing of this conversation that the negotiations have actually already started. Like, have you forgotten that Istanbul happened just a few days ago? I have so informed President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, President Emmanuel Macron of France, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of Italy, Chancellor Friedrich Merz of Germany, and President Alexander Stubb of Finland during a call with me, during which, again, all the European leaders were stunned in disbelief. Alright? The Vatican, as represented by the Pope, has stated that it would be very interested in hosting the negotiations. Let the process begin. Because, again, Trump has already forgotten that the negotiations have started in Istanbul. Because I guess that was just a throwaway meeting. Also, I guess Trump has given up on the US hosting the negotiation and decided to push this on the Pope now. It's ridiculous. It's a very bizarre turn of events that Donald Trump would, first of all, forget about the ongoing negotiations, and second of all, there are things that apparently Trump agreed to Putin during that call that just left everyone shocked to the core, especially since I believe Zelensky, after this call with all the meetings of European leaders, has made it a point to write on Twitter/X that Ukraine will absolutely not allow other countries to give up Ukraine's territory on its behalf, which means that Donald Trump might have actually made some territorial concessions on behalf of Ukraine during that conversation. To which Zelensky said, no country will give up Ukrainian territory. Okay? Like, oh, yes, he explicitly said we will not be retreating our forces from places that Russia does not occupy. While we do recognize that Russia is temporarily occupying some territories of Ukraine, we will absolutely not retreat from the positions that we are currently holding. So again, there's a possibility that Donald Trump has made some territorial promises to Putin during that excellent 2-hour call. Because, again, Zelensky has made a really strong point to say that no country will trade away Ukraine's territory. And there's, of course, the continuation, the aftermath of this conversation, because once again, there was a call for a ceasefire. And once again, Russia has rejected it. Once again, Russia has rejected the ceasefire, saying that in order for a ceasefire to happen, the core reasons for this conflict have to be addressed. And the United States' reaction to that is nothing. We're going to look, because US won't sanction Russia after 2-hour talk. Trump says he trusts Putin. He won't sanction Russia, because you should know that Trump is getting increasingly frustrated with both sides, with Russia and Ukraine, because somehow Ukraine that does everything that he demands, okay, signed the deal, the whole mineral deal, agreed to an unconditional ceasefire, bends over backwards to meet Trump's ridiculous demands, is apparently the frustrating party, okay? It apparently is the party that Trump is mad with. Trump is really just being led by the ear. I doubt he even knows what's happening in his own administration. So, US President Donald Trump, in separate statements, told reporters on May 19th that he trusts Russian President Vladimir Putin, he will not sanction Russia, but will abandon Ukraine peace efforts if progress is not made. Which will only benefit who? Let me ask you this. If the United States decides to abandon Ukraine peace efforts, which, by the way, you could just shorten it to abandon Ukraine, who will that benefit? Like 100-point question. Who will that? It will benefit Russia. Russia wants this very much. Russia really wants the United States to get out of the whole peace thing with Ukraine. Trump and Putin had a phone call earlier on May 19th as Ukraine, as its allies, intensify efforts to end Russia's war. Putin did not agree to a full ceasefire in his phone call with Trump, despite calls from various world leaders to do so. There you go. Rejected. It's been rejected. When asked by journalists if he believes Putin wants peace in Ukraine, Trump replied, "I do," because he either does not care, or he is actually really naive or stupid. I have no clue which one it is at this point. Maybe it's all of those things combined. Maybe it's this hot pot of stupidity, naivete, and disregard for Ukraine. I think some progress has been made. Like, is that the best that Trump can do now? From confidently saying, I will end this conflict before taking office. I will end this conflict in 24 hours upon taking office. I will end this conflict in half a year, 100 days. I will get a ceasefire unconditional. I will get a partial ceasefire. And now all Trump can meekly say is, I think some progress has been made. From ending the conflict decisively and swiftly to, I am so glad that maybe some progress has been made. This is pathetic. This is the art of the deal guy. Again, he has a whole book about negotiation, apparently. He's supposed to be this brilliant guy. It's a terrible situation going on over there. 5,000 young people every single week are being killed. Trump said outside the White House. Yeah, it's the thing that I've played for you. Trump noted that the US remains in contact with Europe as efforts to end Russia's war against Ukraine are underway. Of course, the difference between Europe and the United States will become apparent as we continue this topic. We also spoke to the heads of most of the European nations, and we're trying to get the whole thing wrapped up, says Trump. And at this point, no European leaders trust Trump, and just every single one is taken aback by how Trump approaches this whole topic. That is the reality, again, of the situation. And this part is very important, okay? This part is basically the demonstration of words don't count, action counts. And Trump's action is inaction. Trump will not impose further sanctions against Russia because there's a chance of progress towards a ceasefire, he told reporters in the Oval Office later on May 19. Because you know what? If there's anything that will bring Russia to actually agree to anything is putting zero pressure on it and agreeing to all of its demands. That is the best way to ensure that a just peace will be achieved. It definitely won't make Russia just stall for time so that the United States abandons peace talks and so that Russia would be in a far better position to just continue the war and seize far more territory. That's definitely not what Russia has in mind. Please trust Vladimir Putin like Donald Trump does. Because I think there's a chance of getting something done. And if you do that, you could also make it much worse, Trump said, according to CNN. But there could be a time where that's going to happen, he added. There could be a time where that's going to happen. It's sort of the difference in tone between the pressure that he puts on Ukraine and the pressure that he puts on Russia, which is to say none. All the pressure is on Ukraine at all times. Trump reiterated he would abandon efforts to end Russia's war against Ukraine if progress is not made. So he would essentially abandon Ukraine. I tell you, big egos involved, but I think something is going to happen. And if it doesn't, I just back away. And they're going to have to keep going, Trump said in the Oval Office. He just doesn't give a damn. He just doesn't care. The US president reiterated earlier remarks that he believes Putin wants to end Russia's war against Ukraine. I said, when are we going to end this bloodshed, this bloodbath? It's a bloodbath, and I do believe he wants to end it, Trump said, referring to his conversation with Putin on May 9th. God, he's like a child. It's child talk. This situation is just perfect for Russia. It could not have been any better if Russia prayed for it. Instead of a ceasefire, Putin has insisted on negotiating a memorandum regarding a potential future peace treaty. The Russian leader said following a 2-hour call with Trump on May 19th. Russia's position in peace talks remains unchanged and requires eliminating the root causes of the war, Putin added. The call between the two leaders came days after largely inconclusive negotiations in Turkey, which Trump apparently forgot about already. At May 15th Istanbul talks, Russia sent a delegation of low-level officials and reiterated maximalist demands, including that Ukraine accepts the loss of Crimea and 4 eastern regions. And again, the difference between Europe and the United States right now is that Trump has said, I will not sanction Russia in any way. And as much as it's watered down and not as impactful as it could be, the European Union has actually passed the 17th sanction package against Russia. So while the European Union is somehow trying to pressure Russia into a ceasefire and to do anything, the United States has absolutely abandoned a unified front with Europe to enact any sort of pressure on Russia. Donald Trump's philosophy on this seems to be, the more I give to Putin, the more he will want peace, which is the opposite of truth. Like, the truth is, the more he will give to Putin, the bigger the chance that actually no peace will happen at all, that he will just be emboldened to continue. It's pathetic.